Welcome to Advertising Champions, your go-to destination for insights into the dynamic world of advertising. I'm Tony Stanol, and with us today is Tim Maleeny, who is the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer at Havas in New York. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, Tony. Great to see you.
Now, walk us through your career really quickly. I know you're a longtime strategy guy, but take us through a couple of steps at that, and then we'll get into a little deeper current day stuff.
Sure. To compress a very long career, I actually started in cable television doing copywriting and on-air promotions. So my exposure to advertising was originally through doing ads for programming, understanding the value of entertainment and engagement in advertising, learning about production, learning about the creative side. And then I came over to the agency side, originally in New York, spent a bit of time in San Francisco at Hal Riney and Partners when Hal was live, one of the great, iconic independent agencies. Also spent time in Seattle, and I'm back in New York about a decade and a half, ran strategy for Ogilvy, and been at Havas now, second tour of duty after taking a detour at RGA and Deloitte, and I've been here the last 4 or 5 years.
Right. Now, the evolution of the creative strategist in the advertising world is an interesting one, I think. When I was a young account guy, we used to do it all. We did strategy and project management, client relationship, ran the, all the workings of the account. But then the emergence, largely from UK, of creative strategists entered the realm, and I was in New York at the time, and that became a separate function. And tell us, where the creative strategist is today, and maybe where that function is going.
You're exactly right. Originally, account people were writing the briefs. When I first came in, it was very much on the account folks, and the strategists were really doing the research, and I mean classical, market research as opposed to consumer research, until the arrival of planning, which, as you mentioned, was a British import, and that was meant to always represent. It was really a David Ogilvyism from a philosophical standpoint, which is always represent the consumer in the room. And always respect that consumer and get that point of view in the room. And that's where a lot of the qualitative research started to, combine with the qualitative research, the quant, and really get a sense of, okay, who are we talking to? What's their mindset? What's their psychology? And that was also when creativity started to break out. And the better agencies realized we're in the empathy and ideas business. It's not just about research. It's not about data. It's not talking to people that you don't know as neighbors and friends and kids and loved ones. This is people talking to people, and that's where things open up a bit creatively, and that's evolved quite a bit. You mentioned that if you look at the early days of strategy and planning, it was very much be that resident observer and contrarian and keep things on track, so it's a bit more honest and authentic and talking to the consumer. That's still the case, but it's no longer just about brand messaging. It's also about brand behavior. How do you show up? Where, when, and how do you interact with your consumers? What's that exchange? What are the customer experiences like? If you're just talking about messaging, then you're just having an advertising conversation. The other thing, which you remember from your account days, is agencies for a while, because they got so busy with all the different platforms that they had to deliver on, they started to neglect the upstream business conversations. And that's come back to strategy as well. Make sure you can have a business conversation before you have that marketing conversation, before you have that advertising conversation, and then think about, again, the brand experience, not just the messaging. So it's a much more three-dimensional role. You have to constantly be studying. You have to be a lifelong learner to do this, and you have to embrace all that's new, whether that's technology, behavioral trends, cultural trends, all of that.
Yeah, it's like almost a jack of all trades function now, and it's definitely integral to the creative process. I remember at BBDO in the early 2000s, they really didn't embrace strategy. It was more of a tell me what Britney Spears' Q score is research department, and we'll take it from here. But
you're not wrong. No, that was a simpler time, I think, from a standpoint of fewer media options, and let's borrow fame, and that's how we'll drive culture. But obviously, that's not the way it works anymore. Culture is very bottom up. Media is fractured, and culture. It's about microcultures, right? It's distributed.
Right.
So you have to actually do the homework, and you have to stay curious.
Very cool. Well, thanks for being with us today, Tim, and you stay curious too.
You as well. Keep reading, keep asking questions, and yeah, keep coming up with ideas. Great to see you, Tony.
Great to see you. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Advertising Champions. You can find out more about us and other podcasts at dailynewsnetwork.com. We'll see you next time.
We've been around for 16 years, working with clients, with thousands of clients. We're working with agencies to be able to scale them and grow them and provide them services that would cost them way more than it would for them to do it themselves. Anything oriented around lead generation, video creation, web design, we're full service, so we can really serve most people.